everybody. I'm James, and welcome back to Storytime with James. Make sure you like, subscribe, and leave me a comment if you like. All right, this one's called The Chick Across the Street. Yes. Look, I had a friend named Martavius, and he lived across the street from me. And he was a cool brother. He was like he worked as an armed security guard, okay? But he was trying to get into the correctional officer. So he was going to work in corrections, which was cool. Me, I was working at the place I'm working at now. I wore suits and stuff like that. So look, and his girl was named Stephanie. His girl was named Stephanie. She did not work, okay? Martavius was the man of the house, okay? They would constantly argue from time to time. I had to work from 4 to 12, 4 to 12 p.m., and, and Martavius went to work from 6 to 3 p.m. I had just put my ex out, okay? So I was single. Martavius would ask what happened, and I told him stuff didn't work out, so she had to go, man. She had to go. Martavius said, "Yeah, I understand. I understand." And that he was sort of going through the same thing with his girl. So, you know. Well, anyway, one day it was about 1 p.m. 1 p.m. and Stephanie came over to my house and knocked on the door. So I answered it, and she asked, "Can I use your phone?" So I was looking. I said, "What?" So I gave her. See, we didn't have cell phones back then. Back then, this was in 1995. Something like that. 95. So it wasn't no cell phones readily available then. So I handed her my cordless phone to let her use that, and on the front porch, okay. And she tick, 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 and she talked to somebody or something like that. Told somebody to come and get her or something like that. Then after she finished, she said thank you and went back across the street. Okay. Then she started making small talk. She started making small talk to me. So I cut her off, and I told her, look, I got to get ready for work. And she said, okay. She left. Okay. After that, the next day, the same time, I went to the door. It was her. She said, hey, hey, you got any sugar? So I gave her some sugar. Then the next day, she came for flour. And I said, man, what is going on? So I had flour, so I gave her some, and that was it. Then she asked for a movie the next day. Do you got a movie I can watch? So I gave her a DVD. Then the next day, now it's getting terrible now. So I she asked for ketchup. Then I said, look, tell Martavius to come over and borrow it. Okay? Tell him to come borrow it. And she went off into the spiel about, well, he don't want to give me no money and stuff like that. And he want me to sit at the house and don't give me any money to do nothing with or nothing like that. So I said, hey, that's y'all. That's y'all. Then the next that night, a big argument ensued between them. They were arguing like cats and dogs, arguing like cats and dogs. So then the next day, I thought it was okay. Everything was okay. So the next day I was off. So I was getting ready to, I forget. Well, okay, we was getting ready to go to a karaoke bar. Me and a couple of my friends, we were ready to go to a karaoke bar. So I had to meet them over there. So I came out the house. When I came out the house to go, I jump in the car, get ready to jump in the car. They were arguing on the front porch. Really bad. Really bad. So I just drove off. I just drove off. I didn't want to get involved, you know. I drove off. Then I came back. Uh, Somebody told me that Martavius got arrested by the police. You know, apparently Martavius slapped her around or something like that. So the next day, she came over to my house with a welt right here and stuff like that. And she said, "Man, I need a ride to some place." I said, "I can't take you. I can't take you, but I'll call a cab for you or something." She said, "I don't have no money." I said, "Well, I don't know what to tell you. I can't do nothing, you know." So she walked off, you know. Then Martavius came. He had got out of jail. Matter of fact, they didn't lock him up. He said they took him around like away from the house and told him he had to go somewhere, you know, for the night. So Martavius said he went to his sister's house and slept there, then got up and came back to the house. And he said, "Man, I'm through with her, man." And he had all her clothes. He put them out on the front porch, and he said, "You can have her." And I said, "What?" He said, "No, I be seeing her come over to your house and stuff like that, knocking on the door." I said, did you say her come in?" He said, "No, no." I said, "Man, what you think of me? What do you think of me? You're my neighbor. You my boy, you know?" And he said, "Well, I don't know, man. It's just a crazy situation." I told him, "Yes, it is. But don't involve me in this stuff." I told her to tell you to come and borrow stuff the next day, the next time, you know? And he said, "Well, I ain't hear, she ain't tell me that." You know, I said, "Yes, man." So Martavius was cool, but Stephanie became homeless, you know, homeless. And next day she came knocking on my door. I didn't answer it. I didn't answer it. I act like I was asleep. So she walked on off. And Martavius saw it too, you know, so Martavius said, "Man, I'll never go through that stuff again." He said she all she wanted was money and she wanted to go out. She would get out and go someplace, then come back late at night and stuff like that. And didn't work, didn't clean up or nothing like that. So in that in that sense I kind of understood him, but I didn't understand him smacking her around like that, you know. But he said all he did was smacked her. He smacked her face, you know. But I don't know. I don't know. But Martavius did become a correctional officer. He made it, you know. So and she ended up going to jail. She ended up going to jail. I think she stole something from a store or something, ended up locked up and stuff. So that just goes to show you. Well, but anyway, look, if you're dealing with domestic violence, please contact the authorities, all right? Here's a number. Here's a number. Contact that and seek some help, you know, because it's not right for a man to put his hand on a woman, you know. I never hit a woman. Never. You know. I just leave. I just leave, you know. So, I don't know. All right, you guys. Make sure you like, subscribe, and leave me a comment if you like. And hit that bell notification. Hit that bell notification so that you know every time I drop another video. And share, share, share. Share my videos with your family. Share my videos with your friends. Share it with your loved ones. And even share it with your enemies. Yeah. Peace. Adios. Salamet.